We are live, everybody. Welcome back to the Diaspora channel. My name is Kai Gabiam, and thanks again for tuning in. And the aim of this platform is to promote Black-owned businesses. And you know how we do it. We have our family discussion. And tonight, we are having our family discussion. And the main topic is our beloved country. Let's put it like that, Zimbabwe. And I'm sure most of you guys are already aware about, the compensation that the Zimbabwean government supposed to pay to the white farmers. And we are not talking about, chicken change here. We are talking about 3.5 billion. So I don't know how you feel about this, but this is very, very disturbing to me personally. So I can't just, close my eyes. I have, very, very, very dear people to me that, families from Zimbabwe, you know what, those are my people. So we can't just keep quiet and let things, go that way, because obviously most of us, we are aware that it's not like they even have that 3.5 billion to just throw it. They don't have it. So it's what is going to follow up with that, how they're going to get that money and actually pay it. That's where my concern is. And, what that is going to actually, the burden that will come with that on the next generation. So I have my dear, dear, dear sister here, Sister Shanice. She's here with me. And welcome, Sister Shanice. How are you doing?
I am great, Sister Kai, and thank you so much for inviting me as a guest on your channel. Absolutely privileged, absolutely honored, my sis.
Thanks so much, sis. We had this discussion earlier today, and when I heard Zimbabwe, I thought about you as well, because I know that you invest already in the country. Though we would say you originally from Jamaica, right? But you know that Africa is home, and you and some other brothers and sisters are already pouring into Zimbabwe. So when I heard this, I'm like, no, we can't just close our eyes. We have to have this discussion and see what the diaspora can do, what can they say, because we also have a say when it comes to things that are happening to our people on the continent. So
yes,
what was your reaction when you heard this 3.5 compensation thing?
Well, my sis, to be honest, I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe that the government had actually even contemplated, much less actually, entering into such an agreement that's going to put the country in debt for decades to come. We had a discussion about this on my radio show earlier today. I'm a presenter, talk show presenter, as some of the viewers may know, on Galaxy Afiwi. It's a Pan-African Center de-brainwashing station. And we had the privilege as well of having a guest speaker from South Africa, our brother Rutendo. And, he gave us a very deeply insightful background to the whole situation. And we had callers calling in. And let me tell you this, my sis, there were so many calls, so many text messages, and everyone that rang up were very critical and deeply concerned that this was the position that the Zimbabwean government had decided to take. Deeply concerned and very, so there was not one person that called in that was of the opinion that the Zimbabwean government should actually have made the decision that it did.
I really, really agree with that, because that is exactly, what I'm so concerned about, because like most of us, we are aware there was like lots of sanction on that country already, which means the economy, is already crippled. So if people are starting to stand up and start doing things differently, and the next thing you hit them up with is a 3.5 billion bill, I don't,
Right, right. It's
It's
absolutely.
beyond me.
I mean, sanctions obviously, have had a crippling effect on the economy.
Mm,
The Europeans and their Western cousins all got together, and basically they've used economics as a noose around the neck of Zimbabwe. Okay, but when someone's got a noose around your neck, you can either wiggle out of it, yeah, or you can just stay in it and hang and die, yeah, or it's like you can look at sanctions like a walking stick, something that you're used to that props you up. If you're
mm,
used to a walking stick and someone takes it away, you either learn to walk without the walking stick, yeah, or you stand where you are and crumble.
mm,
And the vast majority of people who I met in Zimbabwe, because I'm also, I've been doing trips to Zimbabwe for the last 3 years as part
mm,
of our Starlight Global. We brought over 100 people to Zimbabwe, and we've toured the country extensively. We've met so many people, and we
mm,
still keep in touch with a lot of people in the country as well. So we often hear firsthand about what's actually going on out there. And, things were tough, but things are tough everywhere in the world for us as a people because, we're trying to function within, an economic system that wasn't designed for us or by us. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we as Africans have wherever we are in the world, trying to, make ends meet within an economic system
mm,
that was designed by Europeans for Europeans. Okay, so when Zimbabwe won the Liberation War and beat the Europeans, the Rhodesian army.
mm,
Because they were on the verge of losing the war, the Rhodesians and the British decided, well, rather than have total humiliation about the loss, let's sit down around the table and let's negotiate, an agreement. And so they're the sort of people who, when they realize they're going to lose the battle, they say, well, okay, we might lose the battle, but we're not going to lose the war. Let's sit down, and the negotiations that we're going to have is going to be on our terms, And they did that, and they came up with the Lancaster Agreement. As we all know, they were supposed to have vacated the land, as we know,
mm,
within a certain time frame. They didn't. And so, quite rightly, the people of Zimbabwe, who had been without their land for like almost 100 years, decided enough was enough, and they took back the land, yeah, from
mm,
the invaders, yeah, those murderers and thieves that had come to their country and murdered and slaughtered hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of their people. Okay, they took back their land, which they had the right to do.
mm,
And just imagine, you've got your land, you've got all your cows, your goats, your chickens, you've got your house, you've got your family on the land, you've got your farm by the land as well, and you're living good. Yeah. And then these Europeans turn up and decided, off the land right now, otherwise we're going to murder you, murder your family and everything. And by the way, you can only take what you can carry. Yeah.
mm,
And they destroy your house, they keep all your cattle, keep all your goods and everything, and they've had the pleasure of that, and plus building on that for generation after generation after generation. And eventually, we get some courageous Africans who decide to stand up and fight to take back the land, which is
mm,
what our revolutionary fighters did. And many of those veterans are still alive today. So they did the works, they lost comrades, they lost family members and loved ones. The people, the Rhodesian army were wicked to the people during that war as well.
mm,
The most heinous crimes they committed, during that liberation struggle. Okay, but you eventually get back the land. You agree that you'll allow them time to pack up and go. 10 years. 10 years come, they still don't want to go. Come on, they
mm,
don't want to go. Another 10 years, they still don't want to go. So people take back their land. Okay. Now, when that was happening, what I do know is from the farms that I visited out in Zimbabwe, is that before the white farmers left, when they realized that, they were going to have to pack up and leave and go, before they left, some of them poured concrete down the toilet, they concreted up the wells, they poured acid and all sorts of chemicals on the land, they
mm,
murdered all of the livestock, they wrecked the houses, tore down the roofs, damaged the factories. They caused considerable damage to the
mm,
pathetic bit of infrastructure that they had built on the land before they left. Yeah, and here they are today, lobbying, and well, they couldn't bother trying to lobby Mugabe because he'd just tell them where to go, rise up the spirit of the late, great Robert Mugabe. But, since the new president has come in, they've been lobbying him and they've been pressuring him to compensate them. And they obviously managed to persuade him that it would be in his best interest to compensate them the sum of $3.5 billion. And in fact, even though they know that they don't have the money, they'll go around with them around the world begging other countries to finance the 3.5 billion, which a bank would be prepared to do, because they know that country is going to have to pay that back with loads of interest on top. And if they fail to pay them back, maybe they'll come and take a gold mine or a diamond mine or whatever it is, whatever assets they want to claim. It's an absolutely pathetic deal. It's just beyond common sense that anyone in their right mind would want to enter into a deal like that. It's going to put for generations, the Zimbabweans on a back foot. They're already on a back foot because of sanctions. Yeah. But despite the sanctions, I must say, enough respect to the Zimbabweans. As I said, I've been out there year after year for the last 3 years. Almost 100 of us from the diaspora has been out to Zimbabwe, so they can all vouch for that. And when we've gone out there, we've gone around the supermarkets. We've seen the supermarkets full of fruits and vegetables that the Zimbabwean farmers have grown themselves. We've seen it full of foreign goods that have been imported. We've never, ever once seen the shelves in Zimbabwe empty. And when we talk to the people, those images that they show on the television, I don't know where they get it from. They're probably going to, right now, actually, it was in about March, actually, when COVID hit here in the UK, that supermarket shelves here in the UK were actually empty. There was nothing on the supermarket shelves. I'm sure they've got those images in their library, and I can guarantee you in a year or two, they'll pull them out and try and claim it was Zimbabwe, because the supermarkets over there in Zimbabwe are not too dissimilar to the supermarkets that we got here in the UK. We went down Mbare, and we see for ourselves the entrepreneurialism of the young people, how they're using recycled produces and creating a whole range of goods, and they're recycling engines and pumps and welding and using wood, and they're doing all sorts of creative things. These are the industries that the government needs to invest in. These are the people, the entrepreneurs within Zimbabwe that they need to be investing in, instead of borrowing loads of money that they're then going to have to pay back. It's an absolute nonsense.
It's really very disturbing. It's very, very concerning, this whole deal, thinking about maybe if they say yes and then they actually managed to go out there, borrow 3.5 billion, is going to change something. But when you sit down and look at that picture and where they say the money will be coming from,
right?
Those people, they never give you anything for free.
Right.
We are not, apart even from the interest, what would they put on the table as an agreement coming up, before I will release this 3.5 billion? Maybe they will just probably give you, 5 years or something that they know that realistically you're not going to be able to pay that money. At the back of their mind, knowing that they won't be able to pay, then we'll say, if you can, then we're going to hijack the whole country. So what will happen to that generation? So those are my concern, you know, and there are a few questions here in the chat, and I agree with these comments, because our brothers and sisters here, they've been asking for reparation for how long now?
Hundreds of, about 100 years at least, probably going on nearly 200 years, from the days of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, from the day slavery ended. We have been asking for reparations. These are, the descendants of those who were kidnapped from the motherland. Those of us, who have been scattered across the world have been, demanding reparations. In fact, we had a reparations march on Sunday gone, on the 1st of Messiah. That's the 1st of August. We dedicate August to the late, great Marcus Messiah Garvey. So on the 1st of Messiah, every year, we either march or we have a rally around the issue of reparations, and thousands of us come together in the UK and in other parts of the world, to remind our former colonizers and our former oppressors that we still demand and expect to be paid our reparations. We have not seen a penny in reparations.
That's the problem.
Right. Yet these farmers, who had the use of African land, after dispossessing the owners of that land, after dispossessing the owners of that land, after, taking advantage of the land and everything that was there, they had that for almost 100 years, and then they want to turn around and be compensated, for the shacks that they left behind, really? And to make matters worse, we're so stupid as a people, we agree to it. I think someone in that office must have lost their mind.
Probably. Definitely. There's not even probability, definitely.
Yeah.
Because, that's just one country. Like, you went out there, let me clarify this, and that's me. I'm not, I don't hate people out there when it comes to other people that are not from my race. But what I'm saying, my people went through so much, and they've been asking for reparation for years. Well, I didn't hear anything. No one said, okay, now it's done, sign this and that. Nothing. Right. They are still fighting.
Right.
And now you come out with just one country, and you are asking, because you said there was some agreement, according to your constitution in 1980, signed were in Lancaster here in the UK. According to that agreement, the Zimbabwean government is supposed to pay 3.5 billion, and that's just one country. And you know clearly that they don't have that money. So if you truly, I know you're going to say, okay, it's written, it's a law, it's been signed, they have to follow through. If you truly consider that country your country, like we were saying, okay, let's say it's their forefathers. Now you are there, you claim this is your country. You know the people are not in position to pay that money. But yet the country you claim is your country, you are willing to go out and collect, loans. Is that how much you love that country? Because it's just...
It's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely insane. And you see, this is part of the wider economic strategy, and the way that they keep us in debt as Africans in African countries. It's all about them keeping us in debt so they can keep control of those countries. Because they come with the World Bank, they come with the IMF, and it's always about giving us loans, giving African countries loans with the most ridiculous rates of returns and interest on top, so that we are continuously and perpetually in debt. It's like being, on a relay track, on a racing track, and you're all supposed to be at the same starting point, but because the African countries are in debt, they're always starting way behind, and the Europeans are way up front. And the minute they see that we're catching up and we're in a position potentially to take over, they come with something else, like they've come with COVID. They come with COVID, and we go and follow their COVID lockdown nonsense, and all of the African economies that were actually on the verge of booming. I think about 5 of the African countries were in the top performing economically, we're among the top performing countries in the world. Now, because those European countries see that they're slipping down the economic train, what do? They come with COVID. They insist that we lock down our economies and we all, follow the tune of the piper, lock down our economies, cripple our businesses, and ascending our economies, spiraling downwards. And China, that actually started all of this, within a few weeks, they were up and running and they're continuing to prosper as if nothing ever happened, So, yeah, the strategy and the scheme of these people is to keep Africa in debt.
Exactly.
And rise up, homegirl healer. You're right. We haven't even seen a penny in reparations. But yet, these people who just, the other day during my lifetime, who have supposedly lost land that didn't even belong to them, or property on land that shouldn't have been, they shouldn't have been building anything on that land anyway, are being compensated. I think that decision needs to be reversed. Yes. I think that agreement needs to be torn up and made null and void. Yeah, and I don't think they received proper advice before entering into that agreement. It needs to be shredded.
I agree because for the fact that you even claim that country is your country, and that your people, because you say that's the let's say that's the only place and that's the only place you call home, and that your people, they are not in position to go out there and open the whatever they're supposed to open and just bring 3.5 billion. They don't have it. If that is truly your country, I know it's a constitution, but it's human beings that signed that law.
You see, we tend to be patriotic as a people. Wherever we go, if we're born in America, it's like you'll hear our people say, I'm an American first and I'm all for the American flag. And, some of us who are born in the UK, it's all about the UKKK, or if we're born in Canada, it's all about Canada. We're very patriotic. But one thing about the Europeans, wherever they go, first and foremost, they know that they're Europeans and they're going to get together as groups of Europeans, call themselves expats. They're going to organize in their groups. They don't integrate and really become, part and parcel of the community where they are. So, it's a nonsense to suggest that, they really in their heart of heart believe Zimbabwe to be their home. They're Europeans first and foremost, and their interest in Zimbabwe is about, if it's farming for the benefit of Europeans back home. If it's mining, it's about mining the resources in Africa and then shipping it out for their brothers and sisters back home. So I see we've been joined by someone else in the group. Fantastic.
Yes, the African Unite. Welcome. Jessie, how are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
How you doing? Thank you.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. I just have a little let me just add my sense here, because what is happening in Zimbabwe, I think it should bother all Africans globally.
That's right.
And what I'm saying, for me, like I know for a fact that it is our fault as Africans, because we have failed as a people. We need to talk to ourselves and tell ourselves the truth here, because it is high time for we to start taking drastic decisions and measures when it comes to our continent, and be responsible and be accountable. Because I will always repeat that history does not repeat itself. It is ignorant people that repeat history. So we are repeating the history of our ancestors, because why? We have failed to take note of the mistakes that transpired during history. And now we are going in the same way of our ancestors. Yes. What happens to our future generation? Because we are not thinking generation to come. We are only thinking about us and this, our immediate families and what is happening right now. We are not thinking about generation to come. Now, what am I saying? Now, for me, I think it is high time for we to go back to our ancient spirituality. I know Kayi Gabian, you, the diaspora, I know you.
Yes,
I respect your religion and all that,
that's
but
my
right now I'm talking about
100%.
us returning back to our ancient spirituality and use those powers to defend our continent. We, because I'm telling you, because we cannot operate under something that we do not know. We must go back to our ancient spirituality, use those powers and protect our continent, because what they're operating on is not just the physical alone. So it is us that are using their spirituality, we are using their religion. And how can we defeat them with their technical know-how? It's not possible.
Yes, my sis,
Well,
I hear you. Go ahead.
With that being said, still people that are in position that are signing those, let's just say drunkard agreements, they shouldn't even be signing those agreements in the first place. Like you said, if we put our people first, it's not about me, my immediate family, and now we shouldn't even be in this type of position, regardless of whatever your beliefs, your religious beliefs are. If you truly love your people, you put your people first. You put them first, regardless. Because
So that's
it's
the
not
difference.
about, but we are so selfish. It's all about me, and if I can send my children to Europe or to America to finish their study, have buy mansion here and there, then that's fine. You go ahead and you just sign an agreement. You are not thinking about the next generation. So that is very, very important. We are, that is already on the table. Is already on the table.
It is deep.
Now,
I think.
what are we going to do? Because we can't just sit back, seeing our brothers right now. We know that those sanctions already on Zimbabwe crippled the economy. So now, if they are about to stand up on their feet, you come up with 3.5 billion bills for them to give to you. So when are these people going to be finally free?
Well, okay, so let me answer that. The reason for that is because when you're talking about the 1% representatives that are representing us as a people, those people who are there to do our biddings, because we are the government, not the one representative. This is where we are getting it wrong. So when we keep quiet and when we keep silent and we come online and we're just talking, we're not taking drastic decision into ensuring that there is change in the continent of Africa. Nothing is going to change. We are giving the puppet leader, the puppet rulers, I beg your pardon, the more power to oppress us, the more, because these others in
oh dear, we've got a connection
Africans
problem.
as globally to rise up. Can you hear me, please?
Yeah. Now it's better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, it was cutting in and out, but yeah, you're back now, sis.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that I think it is a collective responsibility as Africans to rise up to these puppet leaders, because no one is more African than any other person. So when this 1% puppet leaders have hijacked the continent of Africa, we the youth, we are keeping quiet. And what are we keeping quiet to? We are keeping quiet to the freedom of our future generation, because our future generation are going to suffer even worse thing that we are suffering now if we continue with our silence, if we continue without, taking actions and drastic decision. I do believe that the problem is not the puppet leaders, the problem is the people, and we are the problem. Until we rise up and begin to take drastic decision and speak with one voice. Now look at what they do. They plan the divide and conquer tactics within the African families, right? They bring in tribalism, they bring in religion and build all the same thing that they did in Berlin Conference. That's what the African puppet rulers are doing to the African people. But listen, when these African leaders, when they want to come and eat in their pot of corruption, because that is the only thing that brings them together, that binds them together. They don't think about religion. They don't think about language, tribalism. They don't think about whatever. They come together in unison. They come together, they speak with one voice. So let us collectively look at the things that is dividing us, stop looking at the things that is dividing us as a people, but look at the things that is, that make that we are suffering collectively, and that is poverty, that is oppression. Can we put our differences aside and see that collectively we are being oppressed and we are being divided, and stick together and fight these oppressors? So until we rise up to these people, nothing will change. We will keep ranting and running to the West, giving the West and Europe our best years, and Africa are waning years. Hence, Africa will not develop. Nothing is going to happen. What have we learned during all through this history? We keep talking about this history and all of these things, but we are not doing nothing. That's what I'm saying. Now, if I go back to my Asian tribe, right? I was talking to one of my. I was talking to one of my okay, let me talk about an incident that happened in Nigeria, quote unquote Nigeria, right, where I was from. I went to the market, right, to get something, and this was on the daylight, right. So behind me was a little boy. Now this little boy, he was buying something. Now this man from the northern part of Nigeria, because it was during it was close to Xmas period, like Christmas period, right? So people were, because of the oppression in the country, the same puppet leaders oppressing their people and all of those things, right? Now, these people are doing all sort of things, using the African spirituality for negativity to hurt themselves and kill themselves, right? What did this man do? He turned that boy in my presence, before my very eyes, into a fowl, like, I call it now. Yeah. Are you getting what I'm saying?
No,
and then let's come back to the main.
No. I'm going somewhere, and I'm coming. I'm going somewhere. I'm not deviating from the from
what
the
do you mean
from the
foul? What do you
That's
mean?
what I'm saying. Like he used this boy. He turned the boy into into a fowl, like something, right? And then we gathered, and then we held him and said, like, you have to bring back, do what you did, that you made this boy before our very eyes to do it. What am I saying? There is power.
You saw someone use some powers.
Exactly. No, they have these powers, but what are they using it for? They're using these powers to harm their own and to do. They should use this power against these people that are oppressing them and rise up to them.
Yes. Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Now, what are the African puppet leader rulers doing? They're using the same powers in a negative way on their people, casting spell on their people. That is why you see that the African youth are so docile. Most of them, you see, they're not rising up. There should have been an overdue revolution in Africa, but it's not taking place. Why? Because of they're using that negative power. So what am I saying? I'm saying go back and use your negative, you go back to your spirituality, use the same power, defend yourself, because democracy is on African. It has never worked for us as a people. It will never work for us as a people. The Europeans brought it. We must go back to what we knew before and embrace it and use it to stand up to our oppressors, because that is all that we knew, and that is what we know very well. We cannot operate in the frequency and in the spirituality of what these other people are using. It is high time for we to take drastic decision. It's time for we to stop all this, and take decision, because our continent is being sold. When we return back to our continent, we become immigrants. We become, slaves.
Well, if we don't take the right decisions, start doing the right thing, then that's what is going to happen. And like you're saying, I don't think the youth out there are just laying back. Now they start understanding exactly what is happening. But it's not only them. Like you said, those people that are there, the 1%, like you call them, they are still the one that have been recognized as government. And though everyone, is not happy about the decision or paperwork they are signing, that's why we are having this conversation now. That's the reason why we are having this conversation. So, that's your point. That's how you think, people, things can change. But that's purely what you think will bring the solution. So
And
Yeah.
that's why these conversations are important, because each one teach one, and the more people that listen to these debates and conversations, the more minds will be able to open up, and people will then begin to start thinking more critically about the situation that they find themselves in. And I think what's really, really important, you know, a lot of points that the sister was making, I think it's really important, but very importantly, especially when it comes to our young people who are understandably very frustrated about the situation that they're in at the moment, you know, it's important that they understand as well that the economic system that the government is trying to manage is not their system. It is a colonial system, and they don't really have control of it, because all of the banking, all of the finances and everything else is controlled by outsiders. It's controlled and manipulated by people who don't look like us and don't like us and don't want to see our economies prosper. What we've got to be working towards is changing the system, and we've got to work towards true, complete independence. You know, the war for independence was just the first step. You know, that got back the land. But now we've got to be independent of their economic systems, independent of their education systems, independent of their legal systems, independent of their so-called democracy. You know, we've got to, you know, extrapolate ourselves from all of that. And that's what the young people need to be organizing and putting pressure on the government to be working towards: total independence. The last thing that we want to have happen on the African land is civil war. The last thing we want is for the young people to rise up and say, take arms up against the government or start fighting the soldiers. You know, when I was young growing up, there were too many images of wars all across Africa. But for the last 20 years or so, Africa has been enjoying, or the vast, you know, majority of the continent has been enjoying, you know, peaceful times. And peace is important for development and progress and prosperity. Peace is essential. And so we've got to be clear about what our demands are. We've got to be clear about, you know, what our expectations are as well. In terms of, like, you know, spirituality, you know, if we look back prior to Christianity, prior to Allah being introduced into Africa, Africa was in its glorious days and its glorious ages. You know, we had totally different systems there that actually work for us. Why not go back and look at what actually worked and embrace what works, you know? And, you know, so we do have examples, great examples of when we were great and when we were in control of our economies. And yes, the reality is, as difficult as it is, you know, for us to recognize these days, but we've got to go back and do the research for ourselves. You know, Africa did have its own God in our own image. And we also had spirituality and spirit mediums as well, who had an important role to play, you know, in our societies. And you know, and this is historical fact as well. But the young people who are understandably very frustrated, my message to them would be to organize and be clear about what you're demanding. And I think those demands should be around seeking total independence of our oppressors, independent of their education system, independent of their economies, independent of their political systems, their legal systems, you know, their education, their healthcare systems, total independence, because this is how they've managed to maintain control over our individual countries. If they're controlling our national health services, if they're controlling the pharmaceutical industries and the drugs that they're providing for us, you know, how can we really put that level of control in the hands of our oppressors, our former enslavers, people who've got a clear policy around depopulation? You know, how can we put our healthcare in the hands of those people and wonder why incidences of cancer is shooting through the roof, diabetes is shooting through the roof, HIV, AIDS and Ebola is shooting through the roof? Can we really wonder why these things are happening in our country when we don't have control of our healthcare and we're relying on outsiders to give us drugs? Yeah, when prime ministers, I heard an African prime minister actually say that over 50%, and actually Dr. Arikana, I heard her mention something along the same lines as well, that over 50% of the pharmaceutical medicines and drugs that are distributed across Africa are either totally ineffective or at worst can cause fatality. Many of the tablets and pills are just chalk. Yeah. all the out-of-date medication that comes from the West that they can no longer use here, all the medication that they've got to remove from the shelves, all end up in Africa. Africa has been used as a dumping ground for decades. That's why the sicknesses and the illnesses in Africa has just been going up and up. You know, that we can no longer allow this to happen. We've got to take back control of our health and go back to our traditional ways of healing. You know, we've got the herbs of the land, we've got the herbs for the healing.
Yeah.
We need to have some pride, you know, in our natural healing methods, and see the natural healing herbs as what is there for us, for our good health, our fruits and our vegetables and nutrition that we get from good fruits and good non-GMO foods. So we've got to go to look at our health system. Education. How can we get a Eurocentric education and expect to come out of that, you know, with any sense of dignity about who we are? You know, the entire education system, the European education system, is designed, you know, to elevate everything European and to denigrate everything African. You know, by the time you go through their education system, you come out thinking that Africa has never achieved anything, never accomplished anything, so therefore never will in the future. But if we had an African-centered education, we would be learning about the great kingdom of Zimbabwe and the quality of life that we were living. For our invasion, we've been learning about the Mali kingdom, the Songhai Empire, the Monomotapa, and all of the wonderful empires, you know, that existed prior to the invaders coming in and causing total destruction on our land. So we need our own education system so that we have a sense of national pride. You know, we also need to have, you know, our own political structures in place, and we need to look at, you know, how we would involve all the chiefs and the kings as well in that political structure. This idea of, you know, having one president or one prime minister who then dictates to the entire country what's going to happen and what's not going to happen, and that individual being totally controlled, you know, by outsiders as well. That system has got to go as well. We've got to be clear about the need to change the political system as well. The economic system has got to change. That doesn't work for us. This capital economic system where just a few at the top get all of the benefits and the vast majority work for peanuts and just about manage to get themselves back to work again. And then you have a large pool who are unemployed as well, who then end up in the judiciary system. That system is not African. We don't want that system in Africa either. There's got to be changes there. So, and even the legal system and us, you know, taking on board, taking instructions from the West regarding our laws and all of that, that's got to change as well. If we're talking about being independent of a people as a people, then we've got to be working towards total independence and control over our own economy, our own education system, our own healthcare sector systems, and the way our countries are run. You know, that is the way forward, in my opinion, for Africa, and nothing less than that will do. You know, we don't need to be managed and controlled by outsiders who just want to manipulate, you know, our leaders and our people and our mindset and everything. And of course, total control of our media as well in our African countries, you know. Total control of the TV or the television, the radio stations, the newspapers. That is what we talk about when we talk about independence. So let's be clear about, you know, about what we are aiming towards as well.
That's so important, because you know, once they are, you know, they are in control of all those things you mentioned. So right there is big problem for our continent, because everything they are putting in place is to benefit them. So we have to you know, to come to a point where we don't have to follow the curriculum. Very important, because most people, they send their children to school. We don't do homeschooling. So I don't know now if the knowledge people are having, some of them, if they start homeschooling their children, I don't know. But for the 99%, is a curriculum that is been, everything is put into place, give it to the people, and then they feed us with that. So for some of us, we have to come out of the continent to start understanding exactly, the big mess they put us in with, the currency we are using, even the education system. So everything is so linked. So it's very, very important that we start with those ones, so we can actually move to the next stage of our fight. So thanks everyone for joining. African Millennium, please go ahead and say what you want to say. You unmute yourself now, so you're good to talk.
So I was just listening to what everyone said, and what everyone said is basically what's on my mind, but I do mostly agree with the lady in the pink. I'm sorry, I do not know your name, but I do agree with that there's a huge problem with us, and as a people, obviously it has a lot to do with colonization, but come on, how long ago was that? Our grandfathers, we had our parents, now it's the second generation. We need to stop making excuses. So it's like I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that a lot of us are very docile people. And I think that's a huge problem. Like when it comes to Africa, every single thing, oh, let's be peaceful. Let's figure out in a peaceful way. And I don't know if there's a way that you could be peaceful and calm, but with this type of situation, I feel like I'm not saying like let's have a war, but I'm saying that there needs to be more force in what's going on, and there does need to be a more effort to educate, especially the next generation, because right now we know that saying that idle minds are dangerous minds. So if they're not doing anything and if we're not teaching them anything, it's just going to fall into the exact same trap. Like, I'm not worried about what the leaders are doing. With all due respect, they're 70 and 80 years old. They're going to die off soon, but we need to make sure that what they're doing doesn't trickle down to the next generation. Like, we always look at NGOs. Why don't we create our own NGOs, our own groups? Why don't we do that? We have the funding to do that. So I just feel like we need to, okay, I understand that all of it has to do with the fact that there are these systems set in place that we didn't create, and I understand that, but let's not act like we didn't have African leaders who actually did try. What did we do with them? Or what did who do with them? They killed them. Patrice Lumumba, Nkrumah, Idi Amin, he wasn't, I think he was executed, not executed, excommunicated, so he was asked to leave the country. But we've had moments when we did have these leaders who did come out and speak, and what happened to them? No one took them seriously. So I don't know. There just has to be like another type of education. And I don't know how that's going to happen though, but we can start it. We can start the wheels.
That's why education is so important, because, we need to have the right mindset, you see, right. And then we can move forward as one. Once we're all, educated and we all have the same ideology and philosophy on issues, then we'll be able to move forward. So that's why our educational independence is so important, and also just imagine being educated as you are at the moment into, to a level where the job that you're looking for isn't even in your own country, but abroad. So if you want to work professionally, you have to go abroad to get that job, because that's what the education has prepared you for. What kind of education is that? You need to be educated about, how you can make use of the resources and the minerals that you've got, on your land in Africa. So we've got the totally wrong education there. So we've got a lot of very highly educated people in Zimbabwe, for example, who could probably, take up positions as the CEO on any big, multinational company. But, we don't have the people who are educated to have the knowledge about the minerals, the 60 odd minerals that they've got on the land, how to mine it, how to process it, how to turn them into finished goods, and how to distribute them internationally. That's the sort of education that's relevant. We've got education that's totally irrelevant, just like the healthcare system, totally irrelevant for our African needs, just like the political system, totally irrelevant. And thinking that, when these leaders die off, the new ones who come in are going to be any better. If they're handpicked by our oppressors, we're going to be getting more of the same. That's for sure. It's about getting rid of, the system itself and changing it into something that's more appropriate. for our needs. And I'm seeing some of the comments as well that's coming in the chat. Curtis, for example, there's one on here. The West have gained control over Africa through violence. There's no way they will give control back to the government or the people through peaceful talks. Well, you know, in my opinion, Zimbabwe has already paid the price, you know, and it did take violence, you know, and thousands, tens of thousands of people lost their life fighting to take back control of their country. But that was just the first step that I was saying. There are more fights that's needed, and that's to take back control of the economy, of the education system, of the healthcare system, etc., etc. You know, so, you know, it's about doing that, and that can be done through diplomacy, or that will have to be done through direct action. And with regards to, you know, those leaders of ours, you know, those Pan-Africanists that were taken out, you know, they might kill the individual, but they can't kill the spirit of the movement, you know. And once we're all educated on that same level and we all have that Pan-African mindset, you can kill as many of us as you want, but the spirit of the movement, like Neander says, you know, my bones will rise. That spirit will be there. And there are many of our people who've got the spirit of Neander, the spirit of Nani of the Maroons, the spirit of Yah Ashantewa, and the men who've got the spirit of greats like Marcus Mosiah Garvey and all those that you've mentioned, Patrice Lumumba and Kwame Nkrumah and the likes. You know, their spirit still lives amongst us. You know, and what can we do? We do whatever we can do, because if every single one of us is doing something, then we are contributing towards the greater good of the whole. But if all of us are sitting back and complaining and doing nothing, then we have only got ourselves to blame. And by us having this conversation, hopefully we're going to be inspiring our people to take some form of peaceful action through organization, you know, that's working towards the greater good of us all. If it's in your spirit to set up an NGO, then go ahead and find like-minded people and set up an NGO or join an African-centered NGO. If it's in your spirit to support farmers and to pull them together as collectives to collect the seeds so that we're planting our natural indigenous seeds instead of GMO seeds, then use your organizational skills to do that. You know, if it's in the agricultural sector needs management, it needs retailers, it needs manufacturers, it needs it's a whole industry in itself. Steve Biko as well, rise up the spirit of Steve Biko, Winnie Makazela Mandela, you know, rise up these wonderful freedom fighters of ours. Like I said, you can take out the individuals, you can oppress them and suppress them, but the spirit, you know, is not what's going to die. But we've all got a role to play, and we outnumber these people who, you know, this 1% or so, as they call, that control the world. You know, we outnumber them, you know, 1,000,000 times over. When we're in our right mind, you know, they will be like, as someone said to me once, ants underneath our feet. Okay, and it's about getting in our right mind and doing the works that's needed towards the greater good of the whole. Yeah, and as well as having individual pride, African pride, it's about us having race pride as well. So important, and instilling that race pride in our children, and so that they're so proud to be an African, they won't want to be anywhere else other than Africa. They won't want to leave Africa for the West, because they'll want to spend their entire life contributing towards the rebuilding and the upliftment and the advancement of the continent.
That's right. That's right. Thanks so much, Sister Shanice. It's so important. Yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Most of the things that we have highlighted here is pretty much we are still going back to history, and there's nothing new about everything we've highlighted here. These are just the facts about the issues that we are having. But now that these people have sat down to take drastic decision and forcing the Zimbabweans to pay this amount of money, what decision are we taking to ensure that these things either did not hold, or we are calling for a receipt of such a disgusting decision that they're taking. And when we know that the representatives are not ready, they're ready to do the biddings of their colonizers. So what are we going to do as a people collectively to ensure that we come together and say, look, let's put pressure, let's come together and say no to what to what is happening in Zimbabwe. Collectively use our voice. Let's do something about it. Let's not be quiet. It is enough. It is okay that we are talking about it, but let's take it further by taking action, and not just leaving it here. Let's run with the vision. And the next thing I want to talk about is that we need to unlearn certain educational system. You mentioned, right, the Western system of education. I don't believe in such a system of education and all of those things. But before we start doing all of those things, first of all, we need to take back our continent, which is being sold. While we are sitting here talking, they are busy signing many documents, selling our land to foreigners. They're busy signing all these things.
That's exactly the aim of the stream. That is exactly why we put this stream together.
Let me just finish this point real quick, and then I'll just I'll leave. Yeah. So while we are talking, they are busy signing and selling our land to foreigners and all of these things, right? Before we finish talking and realize we're already foreigners in our own lands. So before we start talking about re-educating ourselves, doing all of those things, we first of all need to save our continent. We need to save our continent. And how do we save our continent? You do not come with the forgiveness mentality. Again, I'm talking, when I talk about this, I say forgiveness is un-African to me. That's what if I have studied the ancient African history, and I'm telling you that forgiveness is justice. Forgiveness is standing for the truth. This modern Western system of justice is not a system of justice. It was replaced. And now what do? We embrace our oppressors. We forgive our oppressors, right? We are not taking decision. We are weak as a people. The African ancient system, when you touch one, you touch all. But today, what is happening? It is individualistic mentality. All man to your tent, O Israel. When you touch one, that is why they keep oppressing us, because they know when they touch one, we will do nothing. They touch two, we will do nothing. They touch three, we are still there talking and protesting. No, the oppressors don't understand protest. They understand action. And how can we hit them? We hit them right in their pockets. We boycott them. We patronize only black businesses.
That's what we are doing.
We do a lot of take conscious decision to make sure that we instill these things in our kids and in our future generation. But first, let's save Africa, because Africa is already being sold. It's already being sold. Thank you. That's all I wanted to add.
Thanks for adding to.
Contribution. Yeah, we do need to think about, what we can do as well. Obviously, we want to see the decision that the Zimbabwean government has made overturned. We want that agreement torn up and cancelled.
That's right.
It's important that we have the discussions, because the more we discuss it, the more of us, sharing our views and opinions on this. And when that means that when we see any of the petitions coming around, or if we're called on to take action, we're ready to take action.
Ready.
Yes, ready like Freddy to take action.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we put this stream together, so we can actually look into exactly what is happening to our brothers and sisters in Zimbabwe right now. When it comes to the 3.5 billion on the table for them to pay, we want to see what we can do. If it's a petition we have to put out there, whatever we have to come up, with a sort of a tangible solution that can actually hopefully bring change. That's why we take our time to come out here to share this with you guys and hear what you have to say. But prior to starting the meeting, that's what both of us, myself and Sister Shanice, we discuss about. Let's just come out and hear what you guys have to say. Like I always say, this is a family discussions. We are open to learn and hear what you have to say. It's not a one man or one woman show. It's us together as a family. So thanks everyone for joining tonight. what will follow next, I'm sure you guys going to know about it, but don't. I appreciate the fact that you join us tonight. Don't keep quiet. Don't sit back. Everything that is affecting Zimbabwe, Zambia, Gambia is affecting me here. Is affecting you there. That's why when you see the title, you join this stream. So let's not only the talk, we need to have the talk. It's not just like people are out there coming out to talk and go and relax. No, if it's both of us, we don't need to be here right now. So we come out to hear from you and see what you also have to say. And when you go out there, you share with other people. So the people that are not, that are not aware of what is happening in Zimbabwe right now, and also wake up from the slumber and jump on board if there is any petition that will be out or whatever will be the way forward. We want everybody to be on board because enough is enough.
Yes,
that's all I have.
Final word for me is family. Let's see the change that we want to see. If there's something that we're not happy about, we need to talk about it, and where we can take action, we take action. And with regards to this issue, let's all be talking about it. Let's all be critical about the decision. Let's, talk about it on our Facebooks, on our Twitter accounts, and on all our social media network. Let's make the response like a tsunami of opposition to this decision, to the point where the entire government are feeling that they're gonna have to do something to overturn it. Let's make it sound like a whole heap of noise in their ears. Let's make them know that they've made a wrong decision on this one. And someone was asking about what we think about Dr. Arikana's views on this as well. I love the sis. I admire her works and a lot of things that she says, but she's got it wrong on this one. Totally wrong on this one. I can't agree with her views on this one. Poles apart on her views on this one. As far as I'm concerned, I'm with Marcus Messiah Garvey. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. The Europeans, they've conquered enough land in this world. They've got more than enough land than they need. So let them have the Canada and the America and the Australia and all the other teeth in land with them teeth. And left Africa for the Africans. Rise up, family. Thank you so much, Sister Kai, for inviting me on your channel. I look forward to inviting you back on my channel when I do go live one of these fine days. All right,
very soon.
Very soon. So,
very soon. Thanks so much.
Within the next couple of strongs on my radio show, we don't say weeks, we say strongs, because word is power. Within the next couple of strongs, my sis family, look out for the Sister Shanice show going live soon as well. More love,
I put the link in the chat, so please guys go ahead and subscribe. That's Sister Shanice show. That's the link right there in the chat. Please go ahead and subscribe to her channel. She is an amazing sister doing awesome, great thing for our community here in the UK. So what you need to do is very simple. Subscription is free. Keep eye on her content and encourage her. And thanks everyone for joining. Take care of yourself, and remember, the change we want to see on the continent is going to happen if you and we come together and face things around, and we can do it. Let's leave all our differences aside and always make sure we focus on the main thing. So enjoy the rest of your day, or those on this side in Europe. Good evening, good night, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care for now. Bye.
One love. One love.
One love, sis.